Hi, I'm Vanessa with Ellie Mac, and I'm welcoming you back to my sewing room as well as to week 4 of our capsule wardrobe. This week is all about the skirts. One thing I love about Ellie Mac is they have so many skirt and dress options. So there's really endless options. But I decided to take inspiration from the ones you're seeing with the quiet luxury. I hate those two words together. I feel like it's spend more and get less, but they are beautiful and I wanted to give them a try. So today I hacked the 3 skirts that they all say you need to have. The first one is the pencil skirt. Now Ellie Mac has a few pencil skirts. You can do the paper bag pencil skirt as well as the Premier or the Jasmine Jogger. I love the fit of the Jasmine Jogger. I'm also falling in love with dart tucks. So I decided to combine the two, and I got some beautiful suede stretch scuba fabric to make this skirt. Let me show you all the details.
Makes the Jasmine Jogger perfect for these dart tucks is it already has pleat lines. So we can use these existing pleat lines to make the dart tucks. You're going to draw with chalk with the fabrics facing right sides down 3 inches. So after I mark the lines, then I'm going to take my quilting square and measure down 3 inches and come across. This is going to make little marks that look like a rectangle. From here, I can take those 2 lines and I can line them up together and sew down on the chalk down 3 inches. Now, I'm using a lightning stitch here, and I'm actually using it pretty close, and I'm going to come down to that chalk line that's coming straight across, and I'm going to back stitch because this line is not coming out. And let me show you on the other side. Now this is a little smaller than on the Feel Pretty pants that I hacked, but it's going to work just as well. So you can see this little bit of fabric here. This is on the wrong side of the fabric, and I'm just going to be flattening down that piece and basting it down. And this is what's going to complete that dart tuck and just make sure that it's in the right place when I put my waistband on. And just again, I'm going to show this one more time because I know this is a little confusing, but you're going to do this on both of those pleats turned into dart tucks. And this is what the front of the skirt looks like, and you can see it's going to be such a darling little detail on this. So after I added my pockets and I understitched it or top stitched it, I actually understitched it on the skirt because I noticed with suede, if you do a little too much top stitching, it has a real Western vibe, which that's okay for some things, but for what I'm doing right now, I really didn't want to have too much stitching going. So this is my pocket sewed on, and I'm again just going to base my pocket and that dart all the way across, and this is just going to make it a lot easier as I get to finishing the rest of my skirt. And this is the only thing that I changed on the Jasmine Jogger. I followed the instructions to finish up the rest of the skirt, and it really is a really quick sew, and it looks absolutely great. Here's the completed pencil for my capsule wardrobe. I did leave off the belt loops because I thought this looked really nice and simple just like this. But they do say that this could be a mini skirt or you can have it above the knee. I just know it's going to get cold and I wanted a midi.
So for the second skirt we're making today is the silk skirt, the French girl skirt that you are seeing everywhere. So I went with a stretch satin, which is a little easier to work with. It's thicker, it doesn't need to be dry cleaned, and I gave that a try. So I also needed a skirt pattern for this. And since I'm so familiar with the Marissa Garden Party, I decided to try the tried and true pattern and make this skirt. Let me show you how to hack the Marissa Garden Party for this beautiful, lovely skirt.
This silk skirt is so easy to make, but the first adjustment I'm going to make is I'm going to straighten out the edge of this skirt down 2.5 inches. This is so I can roll in a 1-inch elastic to make the waistband. Instead of just adding another piece of fabric, we're just going to roll it in. I also wanted this skirt to be a midi because that's what I'm seeing a lot with satin skirts. So there is an above the line cut line as well as a maxi cut line. So I came down 8 inches from the above the knee cut line, and I'm cutting down, and then I'm going to move the pattern up so I can make sure that I have that curved edge. And so once I have that curved edge, I remove my quilting square out of the way, and then I'm going to cut it just like I would if I was following the pattern. Now this is what the waistband's going to look like when you roll the elastic over it. So let's work on that. So first we're going to start out with sewing the side seams. So I'm just going to be clipping down the side of the skirt. So once my sides are nice and clipped, it's time to take this to the serger. And here I have the shiny side of the fabric facing in. Now I did flip it and start adding on my waist elastic, and I realized I was on the wrong side. So let me tell you how to get your waist elastic measurements. It's usually 2 inches smaller than your actual waist, and then you're going to sew it together with a box. Now because we're rolling this under, your elastic is going to be clipped onto the wrong side of the fabric, and then it's back to the serger, and you're going to be serging along that elastic to attach it. It's just like serging on a neckband, where you're just getting rid of those gaps and going all the way along the edge. And then you're going to roll this elastic under, and you're going to clip it multiple times around the edge so it's nice and tight. And then at the sewing machine, you're just going to be sewing this elastic down, but making sure that you're stretching. And then at my serger, to make the rolled hem, I'm just removing out the left needle and thread. And then this serger actually has a little button that I can turn it down to rolled hem, and then just make my stitch length a little closer. And then I always suggest doing a test fabric to make sure that everything is going to look the way you would like it to before you start going on your actual garment. And then after all that, it's time to do the rolled hem all the way on the bottom of this beautiful satin skirt. And then I put everything back to normal. What do you think of my French girl skirt? I love this. It's such an easy skirt to make, and it saves so much money making it myself, especially now that it is not dry cleaned only. It goes so well with so many of the tops I've already made for this capsule, but it goes especially well with this mock turtleneck.
So we've done suede, we've done silk, now we're doing linen. And for the linen maxi skirt, that is our third and final skirt, I decided to take inspiration from the Trendsetter. The Trendsetter skirt has such a beautiful amount of gathers. It's just perfect. I like it, and it's really easy. The first video I actually did with Ellie Mac was I took the Trendsetter and I made it into a woven. So this time I'm doing it the same thing. I'm making it a woven, but I'm extending it into a maxi length. We're also adding pockets and a tie. It's going to be so lovely, but it's not going to look like the Trendsetter by the end, but you're going to love it. So let me show you all about it.
To turn the Trendsetter into a maxi, I'm just cutting it down the full 36 inches of this is the Fisker mat, and it's 36 inches total. So I'm just going to go all the way down to the edge of my mat. And I'm using my quilting square to go all the way down, and then with my rotary cutter. Now I'm going to be cutting straight across at the bottom. Now from here, we're going to be making our own waistbands, and since this is woven, it needs to be the same width as the top of our skirt. So I'm going to be using a 1.5 inch elastic, and so that means that my waistband needs to be 4 inches. So it's going to be 3 inches to cover my elastic, as well as the 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you're going to need 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back as well. Now I'm going to be making pockets here. You can make these pockets, or you can do inset pockets, whatever you choose. My pockets I'm making are going to be 6 inches by 8 inches long. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to top stitch them on, and I'm going to have a fold down with a button. So I'll show you all the details of these adorable pockets. So here's my pockets. I'm going to be actually folding them down together, and then I want to line them in so they're kind of tilted inwards, and I'm going to be cutting them along the waist of my skirt. So you'll be able to see how those look just in a minute. But with all linen, you know that you're going to be sitting staring at your fabric for a minute, figuring out which is the right side and the wrong side. So here's a little bit of that. So let's do a quick inventory. I have 2 waistbands. I have 2 ties the same width as the waistband, so that's going to be 4 inches, as well as it's the same length as my waist. So I have those at 26 inches, both of them, so I can tie a bow. So I angled these pockets to match with the waistband, and here I'm marking them 2 inches from the tallest side. So this part is going to be attached, those 2 inches are going to be actually attached into the waistband, and then I'm going to be folding down the edge, and when my hand can fit through that, I'm going to be marking that with chalk. We're going to have this fold down and be held together with a button. It's going to be so cute. So just bear with me as I show you this, and I promise it will all make sense. So I'm going to make sure that both sides have the chalk marks even. Now, the part that's going to be folded down, I'm going to stitch it together. So I'm making stitch lines so you can see them. Now, I also need to stitch down, and then we're going to be sewing down the bottom and the side. Now this is going to go pretty quick, but I'm going to try to explain the best I can. So here I'm going to be sewing on those chalk stitch lines. And then over at my ironing board, I have it turned out, and I'm going to iron and fold it down. You can see the button. Now once I pin these on, I'm just going to top stitch these pockets. And then this corner, and then the corner that's going to fold down, I'm going to be top stitching it by itself. It's not going to be stitched onto the skirt. Now I'm going to pin on that fold down part, and then I'm going to be serging the sides of my seams, and here I'm sewing the sides of the skirt together. These are the ties, and I'm sewing at a 1/2 inch seam allowance like I'm doing with the whole skirt here, and then once I turn it inside out, I top stitch it. And then just like I did with the joggers, I'm going to just be attaching these ties where I have the iron mark, and it folds down at the top. And this is so they're going to be in the seams of my skirt. Now, once I have them basted on, I can add on the back waistband and then clip it on and sew it together again. Now we can add this waistband to our skirt. And then I'm going to make sure that my ties are tucked under, and I'm going to be attaching on this waistband just like normal with lots of clips. After I added the 1.5 inch elastic, then now you can see how adorable that looks. You can see how those ties come out, and I still have my pockets pinned down at this point. And then I decided I kind of wanted a 1/4 inch top stitch on the top of this skirt just to make it have a little extra detail. And let me show you how this all turned out. You can see how I added the little buttons. I love this detail. And then how nice and full that tie is coming out of the side seams. And here's the elastic waistband. This skirt is so comfortable, but I feel like it looks so nice and put together in this hunter green with this linen fabric. It's a little thicker than normal linen, but it's going to be perfect for fall with all these cute little details.
Okay. Let's talk final thoughts. So this week, I wasn't actually as excited to start as some of the other weeks. I was just like, this is going to be boring. But once I got to it and I started sewing up these skirts, I started falling in love with them, like I say every single week. But these are such versatile pieces, and I can see why they're so common in mainstream and why everyone is wanting to wear them. But again, if you don't like any of these skirts, make sure to swap out the ones that you like. Even just doing a Trendsetter on its own would be glorious. So thank you again for watching. A like and subscribe would be much appreciated. And as always, have a wonderful day.